Hello everybody. My name is Vrushtee. I just graduated from high school about 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to UC Berkeley in the fall to study data science. With the help of Success Koach, I did get into a lot of different schools. I think my top choice right before Berkeley was UT Austin, and I was almost dead set on UT Austin. There were also some other schools like UIUC, Santa Clara, Purdue. I was considering all of these for similar majors, either data science or computer science. But the reason I really chose Berkeley was because I remember having this long conversation with my parents and also with Success Koach. And then we decided, this really has all of the great opportunities that I'm looking for, close, but not too close to home. And overall, it was just such a good option. We ended up leaning towards this. And now I'm thinking about pursuing a career in data science and maybe minoring in political science or some sort of law as well, because it's Berkeley, you have to do that. It was in a couple of my earlier essays when some of the questions asked were like, oh, why this major? Or what do you really want to do with this career? And I was just thinking, oh, I really want to be like a policy analyst, or I really want to make an impact in the law side, but also bring in some numbers aspect to it. So maybe I could advise like some senators or something like that for an internship. So I know that that was something I've definitely been interested in for a couple months now at least. So I think some of the biggest academic boosters that I took in high school actually didn't come through my high school. I think it came through the community college courses that I would take in the summer, or sometimes even the spring if I had a lighter semester. And one of the main couple courses that I took that I really think helped would be data visualization, and also applied calculus. In these classes, they really built the foundation to what I thought that CS or data science would be like. And because of that, it helped a lot for me to decide what field I want to go into and where I really want to see myself. I went all the way up to AP statistics and math. So you definitely need to have some form of calculus. I had pre-calc, which I paired with applied calc from Mission. And then I went up to AP stats in high school. And then for my science classes, I took AP Physics 1 and AP Computer Science Applications. And I think those were pretty strong as well, to have some APs to back up the STEM side of your application. So I have always been very much into dancing, mostly Bollywood dancing, but also I danced a lot throughout high school. And I think that was a major part of my essays. It was probably in every single essay a little bit. It was also my personal statement. That was definitely my biggest extracurricular. And it didn't feel like an extracurricular. It was truly a hobby that I enjoyed, which turned into an extracurricular. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that people should keep in mind for that, is that you're not doing it just to add something to your application. You're doing it because you really enjoy it. And I think that makes all of the difference. When you're talking about it in your essays, if you really enjoyed that experience, it's going to come out looking in a whole different way. Some other things that I did, though, besides that creative aspect, was I was also part of this group called LLS, which was the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And here we would raise money for children with pediatric cancer patients. And I think that was one of my more important extracurriculars, in the sense that I thought that this was something that would really make an impact. And again, it was more for myself than it was for college apps. And that also came through in one of my other essays. I believe I had about 22 or 23 applications. I actually didn't apply to every single UC. I applied to 6 UCs and either 16 or 17 through the Common App. This wasn't what I had initially planned, though. When I first came to Success Koach, I think I had 35 colleges, and we managed to cut it down. We were realistic about, the workload, and handling all of that, and which schools was I really interested in. And we had to be a little bit strategic. You don't need 10 safeties, but you also don't want like 15 reaches. So that was another big part of it, to be strategic about the schools I'm applying to and making sure, like, at the end of the day, if this is a school I'm going to, am I really truly content with it? Like, am I happy about the school? And if you're not, I don't think it's worth making that part of your list. Coming from a Bay Area high school, I've had such a different personality compared to maybe personalities that you could see down in LA or even just Monterey. And I think that made all of the impact when trying to decide what schools I would go to. My dad was a Santa Clara University alum, so obviously he had strong hopes to send me there. That didn't end up happening though, but that's okay. But I think part of the process when you're working with your parents is we have to really figure out what are they worried about, or what do they want to make sure that you have in a school. One of my parents' criteria was that, you have to be a one plane away type situation. And I had to explain to them, well, actually me and you both explained to them, we were like, it's one plane, but you're also going to need a bus maybe to get to the campus, or you're going to need a little bit more than just one plane. Also, you could have a direct flight down to LA. It is far, it's not in the Bay, but it is still one plane. So, there's a lot of room to adjust, and there's a lot of different ways that you guys can get what you want as long as you work together. I definitely approached them near the end of junior year, and then they all said, come back to me senior year. It all depends teacher to teacher who it is. And I think what their main thing was, yes, I will keep in mind that I have you junior year, but I'm not going to write it over the summer. Because when you come back senior year and you talk to them again, maybe you're more focused on where you want to take your career or what you want to do with your life. And when you make a little brag sheet for them, you have more things you can write in the summer. So definitely tell them junior year, but ask them to write it senior year when you can give them more information. Brag sheets, what I did for that was I took the activities section from the Common App, and then I tweaked that down to some of my more favorite activities and more impactful activities, and I used that for the brag sheet. And then I also had about one paragraph at the end where I just talked about everything I did in that class. I remember I got my recommendation from my physics teacher and my history teacher. And for both of them, they are very different personalities. And I remember just what those teachers liked about me and what I liked about those teachers. I tried to blend it all together, and I gave them separate brag sheets that they could work on. I think if I were to be back in high school writing these apps, and I still have senior year left, I would use as much time as I have before those apps are submitted to genuinely find what I'm passionate about. I would not recommend joining clubs just because it will look good on college apps. I would not do National Honor Society just because it's an honor society. Now, I was in National Honor Society, but again, it wasn't just because of the college apps. It was because they had activities that really resonated with what I enjoyed. Like, they had finals week cram sessions, and you would all make gingerbread cookies together and then study for 30 minutes after for as a Pomodoro technique, which was something that I enjoyed. So I would say definitely find the people and the clubs and the teachers that resonate with what you enjoy, and not just because of what you think other colleges expect you to enjoy. I have to say, Tosca was one of the best essay coaches I had ever worked with. She was so sweet. I would take 1,000,000 hours to write out my 1,000,000th personal statement draft, and she would still stick by it, edit it, and tell me, hey, Vrushtee, this isn't really working, but we're going to work on this together. And I think that honesty was a big part of it, working with your essays coach. If you tell them, hey, I have no idea what to write for this, maybe they'll sit down with you for 10 minutes and really dig deep. They will ask you a lot of questions about yourself and be like, hey, what really happened? What happened here? What are you thinking? What do you want to do with this? And I think all of those things really helped make a better essay. Definitely the honesty as well. I needed that honesty on the first couple personal statement drafts. There will come a point where you think you've written the most beautiful essay, and then your essays coach will agree with you and be like, Vrushtee, this is perfection. And then you will come and you will say, Vrushtee, this is garbage. You're going to disagree a lot on the essays, and it's going to take multiple attempts. I think my lowest point was maybe 2 weeks before UC apps were due, and I was really struggling with my fourth essay. And I submitted the 3 essays I had so far, and then I got a lot of advice on them, and we pretty much restructured the essay completely. From writing it, it was all written in the first person point of view, but it was written in an awkward timeline where we were jumping stages, and I think having your advice on it really helped me put it all together in a coherent essay. I think most of my disagreements came in either at the very beginning of the essay writing process or at the very end. And the beginning would mostly be I had no idea where to take this essay. I had no idea how to answer that really quirky prompt. But then, you work with your essays coach and you just keep shooting ideas off of each other. And then using that, I think that really helped us figure out any disagreements we had on where we should take this essay. But towards the end, most of the disagreements just came through stylistic choices about, hey, do you want to keep this quote? Is it necessary? Or do you really want all of this artsy feeling to your essay? Or has this essay really turned into a metaphor for something bigger? Do you want it to be a metaphor? And I think that was probably the biggest disagreement, because everybody has different writing styles. But then finding a middle ground was probably where I think I resolved most of my disagreements. Like, no, not every story had to be a metaphor. Sometimes you just want to get straight to the point, but sometimes you also want to add a little bit of flair, and that's okay too. I was very organized. I had to create a document, and I wrote down every single school I'm applying to, all of their essays, all of the mandatory essays, all of the supplemental essays, and I created a color-coded highlighted guide of the progress of all of my essays, red, yellow, green. And I remember I shared this one with Tosca as well. And then she was like, wow, like this is really organized. And each prompt would have a hyperlink to another doc of the actual essay. So it would just be one document of all of the essays I need to write, and then 50 other hyperlinks to all of the essays. For the time management part, it would mostly come on myself. I would schedule weekly meetings with Tosca, and almost every time I would finish it a day before the meeting and send it over to Tosca a day or two. And then I think the way I kept myself on track was that I would just keep scheduling the meetings earlier and earlier, giving me less time to work on it, but they would always be done right before the meetings. You don't have to go as psycho as me and create a color-coded highlighting guide, but definitely just know all of the essays that are coming in the next couple weeks and break it down based on the timeline of, are you applying early action or regular decision, and really try and separate it all out. I remember I did my regular decisions before my early actions for some reason, and then I was like, wait, what am I doing? And I had to restart and clean it up. And I think that was probably the best advice I could give. Like, just stay organized, know what you're doing in a timely manner, and it will all come through.